Thank you.
You know, not too long ago, you were practitioner, Rebecca. Tell us how that all changed, and now you're Reverend Rebecca. How's that feel?
Well, it feels wonderful, but actually it took 7 years to get here.
Well, you don't want to rush things, That's right.
And I took the accelerated program, and it still took 7 years.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exciting. Well, today, just to give you an idea of the format, we're going to talk about different things on the show. And it's really here if you're looking for something that you said, hey, I have these questions about spirituality, not so much religion, we're talking spirituality. And can you just take a second and tell us a little bit in your experience, what's the difference between spirituality and religion? Because there is a pretty distinctive line, isn't there?
There's a very distinctive line. In most of our minds, religion comes with a complete set of rules and how-tos and what to do, and if you don't do, what's going to happen. Spirituality is about your connection to the divine. It's 100% an individual experience. And it's how you connect and how you know inside. This is all coming from inside. In my mind, religion comes from outside. Someone else is telling you what to do, how to do it, and why. Because they have been practicing this for years and years. What comes from inside you has been with you for years and years, but it's only yours.
Well, I've never heard it said like that, but that was powerful. It comes from inside. And I think when we live in a world today where it's always outside, right? I'll be happier when I get that job. I'll be happier when I get the relationship. So that's the journey you're going to go with us. Is we're going to say, hey, let's just make sure that we're right inside, and our world would change. Yes.
Yes.
Cool.
Change your thinking, change your life.
I love that. Well, today we're going to kind of get it started on, I think, a very solid foundation, because in the spirituality, especially at Center for Spiritual Living and New Thought, we talk about a thing called affirmative prayer. And if you just take a second and talk about what's the difference between an affirmative prayer and the way, maybe if you're watching, maybe you've been praying all your life, and I think of it as when I used to pray, it was like I always felt like I was begging, like please, if I'll give this up, I promise I won't eat more chocolate if you just let me do this. But it's different, isn't it, for the affirmative prayer?
It's very different. In the science of mind, we teach there is one power for good in the universe, and you can use it. And how do I use it? I use it through affirmative prayer. And that comes from inside me. That is 100% who I am, and what I want. And I declare what I want. I don't beg for what I want. And it's a very different manifestation when you're clear about what you want and you tell the universe, here is what I want. It doesn't have to be in a box. It doesn't have to be a particular shape or size, but here's what I want. Oftentimes, we play too small. When we turn it over to the divine and we say, here's what I want, we get this fabulous manifestation and we're like, wow, this is really good. But when we do a begging prayer, we are not in a space where the divine hears us, because we are not one with our prayer.
When it comes to it, you said we don't play big enough. That's
right.
So true. It's like, geez, if I could, some of you here, if I could just have a job enough to pay my bills, right? And then they have enough money just to pay their bills, they realize, wow, that's really not what I wanted, right? Where do you think that came from? Where do you think that came from, of like that playing small and only asking for just enough? Where do you think that came from?
Well, I think many of us grew up in a generation where our parents had been raised in times of less than, okay? And they were not allowed to be their best or their greatest. And they did not live from what is possible. They lived from, I'm so-and-so's son or daughter. There are 5 or 6 jobs available to me because of where I live and what I know. And we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the exposure. The world was not our oyster like it is now.
It reminds me when I was a kid, I was pretty athletic, and my dad I played baseball a lot when I was a kid. And where I grew up in West Texas, I was a pitcher, and I was also really good at hitting. And I probably was because there was just so little to put in the newspaper. I would often be in the newspaper. I hit a double, or I did these strikeouts or whatever. And he'd always say, don't get the big head. And he would never compliment me on anything, but I would hear from his friends that he was proud of me, but he would never tell me. And so I was always striving for his okay. But with that, I never play. I always thought, well, I don't want to ask for that because that's too much. Because if I take that, like if I take that position, then somebody else is going to not get that. Is that true when it comes to our belief in the center of spiritual living? Like if I take that, then you won't have it.
No, because the universe is ever expanding. There is never a limit on how much of anything there is, and it expands with you. So if you are ready to be very famous in baseball, then the universe is ready for you to be very famous in baseball. And it just keeps expanding right with you. There is no limit in our universe.
Well, here's the good news maybe for those of the young aspiring baseball fans or baseball people. I may be over my prime, so you're okay. I'm not going to take a spot, even if there were limited numbers, okay? So you're good to go there. Okay, so that makes really good sense. Now, I know when it comes to, and I want to be able to dig into this deeper as we move forward in our program in the future, but there is a very systematic process in an affirmative prayer that it's not like when I did a prayer when I was a kid, like, okay, I get on my knees, I put my, at my bedside, I put my hands together, I, put my head down, and I have a process. How is it different? Is there a process when we talk about affirmative prayer, Reverend Rebecca?
Absolutely, and it's very easy. It's just 5 steps, and they're so simple. The first step is start with something you know to be true, absolutely true. For me, I know there's one power for good in the universe, and that power is God. And what do I want to do? I want to be one with the God in me. So I unify with that God. I go in and I center, and I become one with God. And when I get in that place, I simply recognize and declare whatever it is I want. What do I want? And I just tell the universe, because the universe is here to support me. But if I don't give the universe some kind of a plan to work from, it's all over the place. And what I really want is what I need to focus on. So when I'm in the 3rd step of declaration and recognition, I declare what I want. Here it is. I want it. And once I say that, I feel deep gratitude that I have the ability to say, here's what I believe. Here's who I am. I am one with my God. I'm declaring that I am one with God, and here's what I want. And then I'm thankful that I know how to do this and that I can have it. And that I have turned this over to the universe in the next step, and the universe knows how to do it. I don't have to worry about, am I going to get this? Can I do it? It's done. I release it to the universe, and I know that it is already done and coming right back to me. And it really takes the pressure off, because I have a formula, a scientific proved formula. And it works over and over again. And I can decide I want the perfect color of red lipstick, or I can decide I want a mansion. It's all the same to the universe.
Are there, I hear what you're saying is the step process. When you talk about step 3,
Yes.
right? I think for some people watching, and I've done this, maybe you've never done it, is sometimes we want to make sure, hey, I don't want the color blue. I don't want this, I don't want that, right? So we're almost like going through our sock drawer and saying, let's get rid of those socks, let's get rid of those socks, and what's left I'll be okay with. It's a little different, isn't it?
It's very different. All I can say to you is focus on what you do want. Where your thoughts are focused is where energy is going to flow. So if you focus on what you don't want, that's exactly what you're going to get.
More socks with more holes.
Right. So focus on what you want and declare you want it. Be clear.
Let's talk a little bit about, okay, I've done this prayer, right? And I do it one time and I'm done with it? Or do I do it until I actually receive that which I was praying for?
So in my life, it's to the level of my belief. So when I do a prayer, I know it's done. And maybe as you're starting, you do it over and over again. But let me say this, there's no wrong way to do this. When you declare to your divine being what you want, it hears you. It knows. Let's face it, this being created this universe. It knows, it hears you, it knows where you are. And as long as you tell it what you do want, you do want. Jeff, that's the key.
I love that. You know, as you're talking about that, Rev Rebecca, I think of the Amazon effect, right? Like, I order something from Amazon, how many times do I have to order it? Just once. I know it's coming, it's next day delivery.
Absolutely.
Right? I got an email confirmation.
Absolutely.
Right? Are there email confirmations that your prayer has been received and it's coming?
Sure, it's called synchronicity.
Oh, take us down that road. What is it? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so for me, what I love to do is I have two short lists. I have two lists going. One is short and one is long. And it's called Wouldn't It Be Nice If? And it can be silly little things on the short, wouldn't it be nice if? And really big, important things for me on the long, wouldn't it be nice if? And as they come into being, I just check them off. And I show myself over and over again, wow, I'm a powerful manifester because I have asked for these things and here they are. They're showing up again and again and again.
I love it. Well, Rev Rebecca, first of all, thank you for being on the program. Really appreciate it. I think you're dynamic. This is going to be a lot of fun. And for those of you that have joined us, we're going to talk. I'd like to ask you if you'll take this a little deeper next time we're together. You know, we're going to do this once a week. We used to do it 5 days a week. We're going to do it once a week. So Reverend Rebecca will be in here a month from today. And I'd like, if you wouldn't mind, is to take us a little deeper in this affirmative prayer, because a lot of times, you know, when we used to pray, it's like we have this laundry list, right? These are the things that I want to make happen. But again, it's different with affirmative prayers. I mean, we can pray for very specific things and then move on.
We can.
I want you to take us down that road as we get back together again.
Okay, so how about if we start with finances?
Nobody's interested in making more money. Of course, let's do that.
Okay,
Finances, I like
great.
that. Hey, before we leave, we are in front of a live audience. I want to make sure we don't have any questions before we scoot out of here. Any questions? No questions today. We really appreciate that. Again, Reverend Rebecca, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We have a 10 o'clock service. If you're watching this is during the summer. We normally have 2 services, but now we have one service. It's at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you can't physically make it, we're here on the corner of Shadow Mountain and Portola here in Palm Desert. But if you can't physically make it, you can always go to our website at cslpalmdesert.org, and you can see right there on the homepage, it says, click here for live streaming, and you can tune right in right there, and you can get the experience of being or sharing the message. And we'll have Dr. Laura, we have Dr. Joe, and if you miss all of that, you can always go to our YouTube channel at CSL Palm Desert, and you can view any of these, including this program. So that's really what we're talking about. And when you get to be like Reverend Rebecca, you can just tune in from the highest power, and you can get all these channels. In the meantime, my name is Jeff Harrison, along with
Reverend Rebecca Venkatraman.
We'll see you next time on
Spiritually Uncorked.
There you go.
Thank you.